welcome to the Underpowered podcast, a gaming podcast where we battle our backlog, revealing what is worth your time and money. This is episode number 45. I'm Shelby Stokes, and joining us today...
47.
This is 47?
This is 47.
How did that happen?
What year is it?
What year is it? I'm Shelby Stokes. My co-host Casey Cool is here.
Hello.
And Sean, the Spool Man, is also here.
Hello.
And our special guest today is the co-founder of StartPlaying.Games and head dungeon master at Total Party Chill. Please welcome Devin Chulick. Welcome, Devin.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I was going to talk like this the whole time.
Perfect. I just be in character.
Mysterious.
He's in character. I love it.
I found you because an ad came up because our phones listen to us. We've been foraying into Dungeons and Dragons ourselves as a group. We're a video game group. And I found your Start Game. You're the co-founder of that site, correct?
Yeah, and could you give us like the elevator pitch on StartPlaying.Games for our listeners?
Yeah, I'm tired of game night being canceled, so I came up with a way so you're always going to have the chance to play. You can go and book a game tonight and play D&D tonight. You don't have to worry about finding a group of friends. You can't have to worry about scheduling your own friends. There's tons of people out there waiting to play. Tons of GMs waiting to run you through adventures.
That's brilliant. Good idea.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I had been a professional GM for like 5 years, and people could ask me, like, well, do you know someone in this place, or do you know some of this? And people that were, they're like, how can I do the same thing you did? I'm like, it's a great question. That should be solved. And back in March, we solved it. We're like, This is how you do it. You know, sign for a platform. You could advertise yourself as GM. Tons of players come every day. We have like 1,000 people coming to our site every day looking for games.
Right. That's the other thing I noticed about. So, like, I think a lot of people have always been curious about Dungeons and Dragons and wanted to play, and they didn't know someone or afraid. So this gives you... How do you become a professional DM or GM? Is there a certification you have to get, or what's the guidelines for that?
There is a bit of sacrifice that is intended. Mostly blood rituals.
Okay, good.
No, I mean, anyone can. The big thing is we allow you to like port in or accept reviews, up to like 20 reviews from people who've played with you outside of our platform. So if you got people, you can get reviews on there. But social proof is really how you become a professional game master. We don't own the word professional, so there's many definitions, and I would consider people who are professional game masters are the same type of people who run games at game shops, people who run games at conventions, people who run games on streams, anyone who puts in a certain level of effort into their games. I mean, I think there's a lot of people that are hobbyists that can be considered professional because they take it a step further and they put so much effort into it. Professional, by our standards, is you're getting paid for it, and there's a lot of these really, really talented people that deserve to be paid for the work that they're putting together. Yeah.
When did you find your love for Dungeons and Dragons? Where did it all begin for you?
7 years old. I was in a bookstore. I saw a book, and it fascinated me. It was not a D&D book. It was a choose your own adventure solo dice story.
Okay.
And I was not. I don't even think I was 7. I think I was younger than that. But I wasn't a big reader yet. There was a lot. It was not a book that I should be able to read at that age. My mother, she read it to me and let me. She was the dungeon master. She read it, and then I would choose what I wanted to do, and then roll the dice. And she kept all the track. And that was my first experience into like tabletop role playing games, and I loved it. It was my favorite. It was my strongest memory as a kid was this game, and I can't remember what it's called. But it was one of the things I remember lovingly so much. When I got older, I found out about D&D at like a game store, like many people do, and have just loved it ever since.
Are you only doing Dungeons and Dragons? Do you do any other tabletop RPGs as well?
Oh, I do a number with my friends. Professionally, I only run D&D 5e, but or 3.5. But our site is everything. 13th Age, we got it. Blaze in the Dark, we got it. Arthur Pendragon, we got it. Like all the different, Burn Bright, we've got it. That's actually funny. I think that's gonna be one of our next Facebook ads. It's just someone trying to list off all the obscure games that our GMs can run. They're like, well, what about OBX? Yep, we have it.
Cyberpunk, I'm sure you have that too.
Cyberpunk Red, yeah, Cyberpunk, all of them.
So what's the next biggest after D&D? What's the one that people? What's the second biggest audience on your guys'
Burn
platform?
Bright currently.
Okay.
Burn Bright is on the rise. Burn Bright is Roll20's personal, or not personal, this their proprietary game system that's meant to work on Roll20. That one is definitely rising. Pathfinder's rising. And I think anything that's powered by the Apocalypse. That's probably the second biggest game system on our site is powered by the Apocalypse games. just because it's so easy to make a game using that system, and it's just so narratively driven.
So you're playing all tabletop games. Are you playing any video games? Are you a video game player too?
Right now I'm playing. I'm bad at games. I buy a lot of games and I don't play them.
See, that's what our show's about.
That's where it started. Yeah.
So our show's about, we have all these games we want to play, and it's a backlog. Yeah. So what are you trying to get through?
I have Cyberpunk. Haven't played it. I've played like 4 hours of it. I have The Witcher. I haven't picked it up in a year. I have Divinity. I haven't picked that up in a year. Right now on my Switch, though, I've been playing Super Mario. It's the flat one. They released one on the Switch. It's the 2D platformer.
The Mario Brothers Deluxe.
He pulls up his Switch.
Is it Deluxe? Yes, Mario Bros. U Deluxe.
No, that's happened last week with our guests. They're like, let me go through my backlog on the Switch.
I've backed a lot of games on Kickstarter that I haven't played yet. I have like Soulstar, I think it's called. It's like a 5e turn-based D&D inspired game, and I haven't played that yet. I got Baldur's Gate 3. Only played like 2 hours.
That looks rad. The new Baldur's Gate. I tried Divinity Original Sin 2 on the Switch, and I didn't care for it. I think it'd be better on a PC. I think that would be part of it, just because it felt kind of clunky, because I felt there's like a lot of clicking. I was going to say, I think Baldur's Gate's like the most well-received D&D video game, right?
Yeah. I mean, I remember playing Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, and then Neverwinter Nights and Icewind Dale.
Yes.
I played all of those. I loved them. I can't remember a thing about them, though. I don't know why, but I remember just like, I don't know what Thaco is, but let's do this.
I just remember, is it 2? There's the one kind of like insane wizard guy that, I don't even know if he is a wizard or if he's a warlock.
Mordenkainen?
No, what was his name? I want to say it started with a T.
From Dragonlance. Oh gosh, I'm losing my nerd card. Dragonlance. Dragonlance Wizard. What is it? It's
I respect that neither of you are googling it. That you're both trying to pull it up.
I'm googling right now.
Just let me think.
Click.
What is it? Now I gotta know.
There's Talisoff. There's Rasslin. He's not Dragonlance. He's definitely Forgotten Realms. Forgotten Realms Wizard. Most powerful wizard. Oh, yeah, he just like rewrites history. Elminster. It's not Elminster.
No.
Is it?
It's not Minsk, is it?
No, because that Minsk is he's a like fighter barbarian, I think.
Yeah, okay. No, I just remember that name.
Boo? Is it Boo? It's Boo. We're talking about a space hamster.
Space hamster?
No.
Yes.
No, but this just goes to the point I was trying to make, where like just the characters that are in those games and stuff are like the best. Like they're all. I feel like the characters are memorable. Maybe not like the overall plot or things like that, but just like the people.
For Divinity, I'll remember Red Prince. Red Prince was cool. I liked him.
Oh yeah, he was in my party.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone picks Red Prince. That starts that game.
He's a must.
Oh, give me the red lizard man. Yes, please.
Yeah, I felt that like my party was just too homogenous. I was like, I just need to get get more diversity in this group with like some some humanoids, but like non-human-esque humanoids.
Yes. Yeah.
I feel like there. Actually, just side note. That's one of the cool things I liked about Burn Bright. There's no humans.
Oh.
Yeah. Everything's just like this other. There's just no. There's no human as a default.
That's kind of nice.
Race to play as.
See, we have a whole list of D&D questions to do because but we're gonna save that for our final segment with the. How many DM games or how many D&D games are you running currently?
So I run one on our Twitch show every week, and then I usually try to run one with my community every week.
Okay, so you're playing
twice. I'm playing about twice a week. My team, we do a mandatory game where we play once a month during office hours. It's not an off office, so it's during your work day. We play a game, and every month we try to change the game we're playing.
Sure, good. That's product development, right? Product research. That's important.
But what's cool is, so now we're doing these partnerships with these big companies, and instead of like taking them out to dinner, because that's like a normal thing you kind of do when you have like a client,
Sure.
I'm taking them out for a game night virtually. So it's like, well, listen, what games have you always want to play? It's like, I've always want to play. It's like, great, I'm going to set something up. What's a good date for you? And like, go ahead and bring some friends, and then we'll bring some from our team. And it's a work event to just play games with our clients. That's the dream right there.
So I DM for I've actually never played a game. Yeah, I always end up being a DM because everyone's always so intimidated and afraid of like becoming the DM. So this kind of a service is probably great for the majority of people because their friend group just doesn't, want they're all afraid to be the good / bad guy / not getting to participate the same as everyone else.
I think you strike a good note here too, because there's a lot of people that are like, well, how'd you become a DM? It's like, well, nobody else wanted to.
It's really how it begins. Interesting. Yeah. No one else wanted to do it.
When I found out that I could be a dungeon master, and they're like, you just need the book and you just need to read it. I was like, okay, and I bought that before I bought the player's handbook.
Yeah,
I was like, I'm gonna. This is my jam. I want to be the dungeon master.
Yeah, and it's all about world building and stuff. And like when I first started, I was just using people's pre-made modules and like worlds and all that kind of stuff. And it's been fun as I've gotten more familiar and comfortable with it. Of like I can now like create this kind of like in my current campaign. There's a guild system that's based off of like the anime kind of fairy tale and stuff, where they're all kind of bounty hunt. They get like these missions from like the head of the guild, and each guild's kind of like stereotypical. Like there's like the rogue kind of guild, there's the whatever, but it's been really fun just kind of creating that system and how they interact and
and having those tropes are fun too. It's like, well, this is the swamp guild,
right?
We're all swampy, and we're around alligators. That's fun to have that. Like that's what your players kind of expect. Like, oh, we're going to swamp guild. What kind of things are we expecting? Like, we're gonna ride this alligator here, and we're gonna find some swamp monsters.
Yeah, and I've almost find it like if you don't do like those tropes and like stereotypes and stuff, people get kind of thrown off because they expect it like, oh, well, this is the fighter guild. Well, they're going to be kind of like jocks or whatever you kind of make it. Yeah. And if you're not, if like they're all like fancy free kind of like elf people are like, wait, that's not like what I would expect it to be. So you can mess with people.
Well, speaking of world building, you've been playing a different game, Sean, too, that Valheim that everyone's been talking about. Tell me about this world of Valheim.
Before you do that, can you tell me what is this game? Like rewind, because I've seen all the stuff and I just need to know more.
And I didn't start playing until like a week after it probably like blew up on Twitch, and I think it came out. So it's an early access. It is a Norse kind of mythology-based, loosely based thing. Like you start off getting flown in by a giant raven called, I think, Hunin. One of Odin's ravens.
Yeah, one of the two.
And you're flown into Valheim, which I believe is a plane in like the Norse mythology. So like Norse mythology, everything's based around the world tree, Yggdrasil. We live on Midgard. Humans, regular world is called Midgard. Valheim, I guess, is another one of those planes. You have
kind of like purgatory.
I think so. It seems like it's something like you died.
It sounds like it.
And you're not in like Valhalla or something where it's like that's where like good warriors and stuff go to. You're not in like hell, which is like where our version of hell is kind of based off of. But yeah, so you start off in Valheim. You're just like a naked guy or lady, and they're like, all right,
excellent. Like this solid beginning. Okay.
And this giant raven's talking to you and telling you kind of about this world, and like you used to be a warrior, and there's been other people here in this world. There are these, I think there's 5, but there's like these bosses. Like there's these spirits that you have to defeat in this world. And I don't know if the ultimate goal is to escape or like earn your place.
To Valhalla?
Yeah, that seems like that's what it is. It's like a very brief kind of mention. They're just trying to like add the story on top of this survival game. But that's what it is. It's like a open-ish world survival game. It has seeds. So like when you make a world or whatever, they each can be kind of generated differently. It's all randomly kind of generated. The game is only a gigabyte in like download size, which everyone I've talked to is like, that's really surprising because you go and you play it and it doesn't feel super randomly generated. It doesn't like a lot of my big problem with randomly generated stuff is usually you start noticing patterns in like the same thing over and over and over again eventually, just like in different kind of combinations. Where this doesn't really feel like that. The textures, and that's probably one of the big keys of why it's so low download size, is the textures remind me of like if I was playing an old RPG, like one of the old Ultima games or something from like the mid 90s. Like it reminds me kind of like Nintendo 64 graphics, like that kind of like, was it 32-bit? Or is it 64?
64.
Hence the name.
64.
Hence the name, yeah. But it kind of reminds me of that on top of like a more modern like frame. Like all the animations and stuff are smooth, like when you run and you jump and stuff, it's not super rigid. so graphics wise, it's really cool. The building is a little clunky, but it's very familiar. It's like all kind of like if you played or know what Ark is or Minecraft or any of those kind of games, it's kind of like you're building on this, like things kind of snap together. But one of the nice things, and I think the best part of why people are playing a bunch of it, is it has co-op PvE.
Yeah.
So
2 million copies in 2 weeks. I want to put that up.
2 million now.
Really?
Yeah.
But yeah, so you can
Now,
play
did
with
this
up
just release or did it just blow up on
February
the internet?
2nd. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
And it's still early access, so my thing, and it's $20 as well, I think is a big selling point for a lot of people, which, you know, if you can buy a co-op game to play with your friends, one person buys it for $20, next thing you know, they're telling their friends, oh, this game's cool, and, you know, and it spreads from there, which is what happens with a lot of like kind of like multiplayer games.
Did they say they were going to release this February 2nd? Because to me, it sounds like if I was a developer over there, I was leading that game, I was like, yo, Rust just blew up. Rust just had like 10 million concurrent users on Twitch. Major streamers are playing it. No branding, no nothing. This is just like a gem. We should drop this because it's better than Rust. And everyone's wanting to play that, and it's going to be a new game that people flock to.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know how long the process for them to get approved by Valve is. If they had to like put in for this a month or two or whatever back. But yeah, Rust has been big for quite a while on Twitch, like some of the big streamers, and I don't even know why they suddenly all started jumping onto it. It's one of those things I find on, especially with Twitch, is like one or two big streamers will discover a game or like start playing a game a bunch, and then it just spreads. It's like almost like a ripple, like a drop, and then suddenly everyone's playing it.
What they did with Rust, which was really interesting, is one big streamer invited like 20 or 50 streamers to their server.
Oh, right. That's
a good move.
And so everyone's playing it, and it was like, oh, this is new. And then, you know, of course, anything, just like you said, the ripple, anytime like something's being played by a lot of people, everyone else is like, well, I'll jump on this.
Yeah, it's like GTA RP, like that kind of thing happened where they had that exclusive kind of server where all of these big streamers were playing on, and then everyone and their brothers wanting to play there too.
So with Valheim, though, you can only play 10. Isn't there a cap?
I think 10 is the max, and they don't even recommend, I think, you play with 10.
I wonder if it breaks the game.
I have a secondary like PC set up actually behind me that is, I kind of like host servers like Ark and Rust and other stuff on, and so I have a dedicated server for Valheim. So me and my like Discord server and my friends and stuff have been playing off of that, which has been nice because normally it's player hosted. So when you start to play, you fire it up and then like your friends can join on it, and it's not necessarily persistent. So that's been fun, but it's also been interesting learning because there's stuff that doesn't respawn. It's not really made for like a MMO or like a persistent kind of world so much, but I've been super surprised at how stable it is. Like, it hasn't crashed once. It's been up for like 4 days now. Hasn't crashed once. It hiccups every once in a while if a lot of people are on, but I've been really impressed with it. It's the game, going back to like what the game kind of play is it is kind of combat focused. Like, you can block, you can dodge. If you block at the like last second, you can parry, and then like it feels really nice, the combat in this game. Like, it feels like shooting the bow is really nice. Like, it feels like they use a lot of camera shake, which if someone's like might get motion sick or things from that, you might want to stay away with it. I don't know if there's an option to turn that off. Feels really good when you're killing stuff. Oh, also the best part of the game, funnily enough, is cutting down trees.
Because they kill you, right? I've read that's the biggest enemy in the game is the trees.
The trees have physics, and when you cut them down, they fall, and when they hit stuff, they do damage, depending on like how big and how far they fall. And so they can domino into each other, and next thing you know, like the whole forest is coming down around you, and you're like getting smashed up by these trees. I have had a couple of different friends get killed by trees because they're stood in the path. So it's just fun. I
like that. I like that.
Yeah,
that's good. That's good. I like systemic gaming.
I spent probably like a half an hour just pushing logs up the hill to release them and roll them down into other trees to try and knock them down. It was just fun.
Tree bowling, just to see like, all right, let's go.
So
do you think that was done by like a caveman at one point? Was like, whoa. Like they say things like, let's roll this all the way up, but like they say this in grunts.
Yeah.
And then just try to knock things down, and like how stoked they were when it
Absolutely,
worked.
yeah.
I could definitely see them cutting like a tree at the edge of a cliff down below the cliff onto other trees and trying to knock stuff off.
I'm sure there's kids on YouTube doing that right now, not just cavemen. They're like, oh, all right, let's do this. I'm still going to send it. Like, it is that, those guys,
Grab your chainsaw. We're going to the forest right now.
Yes.
It's like back in the day, I think natives in Australia and stuff would like corral and kind of like lead animals off of a cliff. Like they would get them all worked up and scare them and get them all to run off the cliff. So then they like suddenly have like a dozen like animal corpses that they can make food and stuff off of. It's just like that ingenuity. And like when it probably first worked, it was probably like, oh my God, this is so much easier than having to spear all of them.
Hack.
Do you know we used to just like chase animals till they got too tired? Because like they can't sweat, right?
Yeah.
So like imagine being the first person to figure out, like, listen, let's just keep going. They're like, I don't know, I'm really tired. I was like, no, I bet you he'll get more tired. Like
there's these ultra marathoners now that are bow hunters that talk about that because they run for days. Like, yeah, we can chase it down for 3 days. We'll get it eventually. You're really committed to the game. I'm like, it's gone. All right, I missed. This isn't for me. You tip my hat to the deer, walk off. No, you got to keep going. You're absolutely right. So, Sean, I've seen the big blue troll enemies. Is there any other dragons or other Norse mythological type creatures?
For the bosses, we've killed, I think there's 5, at least for now. Because
so there's little raids.
Yeah, so when you stop, or like when you first land, there's 5 stones. And he's like, there's these 5 bosses, and each one kind of leads to the next one. The first one is called Eikthyr or Elkthyr, but it's like it's a lightning deer is what it is, and you go and fight it, and it's like shooting lightning off and stomping the ground and charging you.
I believe that's called Jägermeister, if I'm correct. Lightning deer.
And then we just killed the second one, and the second one was called the Elder, and he was like a big treant, and he was like summoning roots down below him and throwing like vines at your face and stuff, and it was actually like that one was an intense fight. Like we almost died quite a few times, and then we kill him and we run back down to our portal to go back to our base, because to get here we had to sail, and the sailing ships is actually it's based off of wind, so they have a whole wind system, so you have to like sail with the wind. It gets stormy, and your boat, I swear I saw some like beasts in the ocean.
Oh yeah,
like,
that's 5.
Cool.
Yeah. But
Kraken's coming. The Kraken is coming out of there.
So I was like, I'm staying near the shore because of that. But we were sailing, and we were actually like all kind of terrified that, because when we started, it was a storm. And I'm like, oh, it'll be fine if we just stick near the shore, and those huge swells are like doing damage to the ship. We can see it, and we're like,
As soon as I get this game, I'm gonna be like, I'm going to sea, boys. I want to explore. I want to be the guy that gets eaten by the megalodon first.
Yeah.
I want to know.
We did one of the rocks, and one of the nice things going to this game is none of us really know, and there is a wiki, but it's like a very like not fleshed out, so it's a lot of exploration and learning how to play this game.
It feels like everyone's figuring it out right now as the world.
Yeah, it's literally like at first everyone's making like multiple like different axes or like hammers or like different tools, because when it breaks you're like, how do I repair this? Like it's not like other games. And so everyone would be, and then when you throw things on the ground, they're all persistent because none of them like disappear. So someone could be running by and pick up a bunch of garbage that someone had thrown on the ground. But then a couple of hours into the game, we realized, there is a repair button. If you go in the workshop, there's like this little kind of inconspicuous button. But now one person learned it, they tell someone else, and that person tells other people, like, this is how you... So now there's not a bunch of like just half-broken tools all around the world. Yeah, so it's been fun learning that way. But I will say, Casey, one of the boss stones at the beginning had it looks like it has a dragon on it.
Cool.
So
nice.
There's probably going to be a dragon, and it seems like each of the biomes has a boss.
Can you farm the bosses? Do you know? Can you go back?
Yeah, so you can keep summoning them using trophies. And we learned that because we were all playing together on this server, and then we run by those standing stones, and we're like, what the heck? Why is one of the stones glowing? And we go over there, and there's this giant deer trophy head on this stone, and we're like, someone killed the first boss already. No one said anything. Someone already killed the first boss. So we're all like, oh, that's a dick move. Like, what now? Because we thought it was just like a one-time boss thing and that you wouldn't be able to respawn it. But turns out you're supposed to collect these deer trophies from killing regular deer around the world, and you sacrifice those on the altar thing, and that summons the boss. So you can keep doing it as long as you get those trophies and things like that.
Wow, that's really interesting. It seems like there's so many different systems on this game. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's nice. And then when you do kill the bosses, you can get like a buff from them. Like you get like this power that you can use from time to time. Like the deer is like, it increases your stamina and health regeneration for 5 minutes. And then the elder that we killed is my friends were all like disappointed because the power that it gives you is faster wood cutting.
Excellent.
They're like, that's it? I'm like, yes, because I'm usually the builder. I'm like, yes, faster wood cutting, more trees.
Well, and I know, Shelby, you've been streaming a game that is a lot like Valhalla Control, right? They're so much alike.
So much alike. Yeah, 1-to-1 comparison. Yeah, Control, about the Norse mythology in the FBI.
Oh, what?
What? Oh, this is sarcasm.
Yes.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
I'm in for that game.
Yeah, no, I've been playing Control. It's pretty sweet. The combat is much better than I thought it would be. Kind of start out showing up at a random, it looks like it's an abandoned government building, and then you immediately get promoted to director. And I'm just like, hey, director, what's going on?
That's how it works.
And yeah.
Suspicious.
First day on the job. And it seems like the janitor is like second in command or something. I don't know. Seems like a cool dude.
Right? You're like, did everyone above me die? And that's why I'm the leader now.
How suspicious would you be in real life if you showed like, congratulations, you're the new boss?
I'd be like, how much debt am I getting out of this? But it turns out, like an hour in, you get to levitate things with your mind. So worth it. I'd be the director. Just let me throw things.
Can all the directors do that in real life?
I think so. Like once you get promoted in corporate America to director, you can move things with your mind. That's how that works.
That's how Jeff Bezos is so rich. Got it.
Yeah,
okay.
That's why he's bald.
It's true. They say 90% of success is just showing up.
So true. But no, I'm enjoying it quite a bit. The combat is really, really good. It's really fluid. The gunplay is awesome. Third person. And being able to just pick anything up off the ground and throw it at your enemy is so satisfying. Yeah.
That was in Half-Life 2, the gravity gun, and you could pick up bricks and throw them at people. Those were always my favorite, or just whatever. That sounds fun. So you're not too far into that, though, right? You're streaming that on Thursdays now?
Pretty early. I don't know if Thursdays will be an ongoing stream time for me, just because it was kind of a fluke. We didn't have anything going on in the office. I'm like, why don't we stream video games? Cool.
There you go.
So, yeah, it was a good time. I'm definitely going to play more of it, hopefully on stream, when and where I can. Pretty early into it. It seems like they don't want you to know exactly what's going on in terms of the story, so I'm excited to see where that goes.
Okay, I was trying to remember what studio makes Control, because I knew they made like Quantum Break and stuff like that. And it's Remedy who made like Alan Wake and Max Payne.
See, I'm the only one who didn't. I didn't play any video game. I tabletop this weekend. I went up to the mountains and unplugged and played. I played a lot of Settlers of Catan. I finally got my strategy in that game. That's a fun one.
I still never played it somehow.
What's your strat? What's your strat right now?
My strat is obviously you got to hit the 8s. You want to be on the 8s and the 6s, right? That's the thing. Statistically, they're the highest. But I'll find an 8 and I'll put both of my houses at the get-go on the 8 so I can get double pulls from the 8 or the 6, whatever resource I want. And then I go for what I did when I won was I'm like, I'm just going to play silly and get all like, I played the most cards card and you get 2 victory points for that, right? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to make the biggest road. In one turn, I made 7 roads because I'd just been stacking bricks and forth. And then my wife looks at me like, how did you do that? And I go, I got that big road energy, dude. How'd you know? Like, give me the roads.
I like that.
And
I have the sow descent strategy.
Okay, what's that?
Where I want to cause as much problems as possible.
Yes.
I just want everyone to be suspicious of each other. Just like really try, like, are you sure you want to trade that with them? Because like they're trying to trick you.
Oh, nice.
Right. I'll tell people their move. That I'm like, she needs that to build this. Like, I'll make it really clear. Like, do you want her to win? Do you want? Yeah, that's the good move.
Casey,
cause the hate.
Or have any of you guys heard of the Villains games? They're like Disney themed. And you play.
I've seen the box.
And you like. I played 2 or 3 of the expansions of it, but it is really good for that kind of descent stuff. Like the whole idea is you're playing as a villain from Disney classics. So you could be Jafar from Aladdin. You can be like Prince Richard from Robin Hood, or you can be Ursula, or you can be Maleficent. And then there's other expansions that add more and more of them, like Ratigan, I want to say, from The Great Mouse Detective is one of them. But
that's a deep reference.
That is a deep cut. That's awesome.
So there's some who are like, oh wow, that's one of the people. But yeah, they each kind of have their own mission or goal. Like Prince, is it Prince John?
Prince Richard. No,
Prince
King
John,
Richard. It's Prince John.
King Richard.
Prince John.
Prince John. His whole thing is to get 20, basically coins, like 20 money. But your other players use like they draw from your hero deck. So all the like good things like Robin Hood and like whatever other things he wants to mess with you with, they draw cards and they can play them against you. But the thing is, so the villains, you want to get in other people's heads, like, no, you want to mess with them. I'm not even close to my victory. Like, you want to, so you're constantly just trying to like screw each other over and get each other.
I grew up playing Risk with my closest friends, and that game can get really a lot of fist fights over that game in my youth. A lot of
go after him. He's stronger. Go after him.
I secretly amassed an army. Yeah, no, there was some of that. No, I just did all the silly cards, and then I just built stuff, and I'm making the long roads really fun. I wanted to go. I'm like, who cannot beat this? Like, let me go for the longest road, and I got all of my roads in a straight go because I just was like, I went for it fast. But that was good. Other than that, I think we'll move on to our next segment, the news.
The big three news.
I want to talk about this one because I know Shelby's been playing some Pokemon.
I have.
And there's some big news. Pokemon's 25th anniversary is coming up, and they're throwing a big concert with Katy Perry headlining, and now Post Malone is going to do this digital concert.
This is a wonderful trailer, by the way.
Yeah, I was surprised. Yeah. He has said he's a fan. I don't, like a lot of people can say they're a fan, right? And you don't know what to believe.
Yeah, I mean, I played Pokemon Go as well with everyone else in the world.
Yes, Pokemon Go. Yes, I have nostalgia.
Right. Or like you get the people like, I played Red and Blue, and they're the best Pokemon, and none of the other ones matter.
Yeah, yes.
I mean, I've only really ever played Red and Blue, but yes.
I think it's interesting. I like this. I think what changed the game was that Travis Scott in Fortnite concert, because we like pish-pot it, like, oh, pish-pot, and then we watched the video and we're like, oh, this is actually really cool. So I think they're seeing that if they put Post Malone in the Pokemon game, though, that's the real move.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of how they are going to do that, because it's not quite like a Fortnite world, there's no Pokemon MMO.
Oh, he could know. There's kind of, you do these dens where you Gigantamax and you fight a giant Pokemon, and what comes out is Post Malone. That's the move. And he just starts performing.
Or while you're battling in the background is Post Malone like performing a concert.
He gets Gigantamax and then you got to take him on. What is Post Malone weak to? Like, what's his weakness?
He's definitely a poison type because he smokes so much, right? He's got to be. He's got a little bit of wheezing, so I'd say Earth and Psychic. But those face tattoos make him scary, so he may be a dark type.
Pikachu attacks Post Malone with sobriety.
I think they're immune to boomers.
Yes.
It's super effective.
Immune to boomers.
He's got the millennial ability. Can just do whatever he wants, get all the face tattoos.
Like, I don't know if you'd consider him weak to tattoos or weak to metal.
I don't know. Is he a millennial musician, or is he?
I don't even know how old he is.
Because I'm a millennial, but I'm like an elder millennial, right?
Same,
like,
we all are. You're right. You're like in your mid 30s too, right?
Yeah.
He was born in '95.
So he's a Zoomer. Yeah.
He's a Zoomer. Oh god.
Or his fan base is millennials.
So I don't know. I guess he is weak to irony. He's weak to criticism, harsh criticism. That's what I'd say about Zoomers, and very heavy in sarcasm. In his attack.
mean, so he's a grass type and a poison type. Is that what we're hearing?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, he smokes enough. Yeah, that works.
Of all the fat clouds.
He spits poison.
Are you gonna watch this concert?
No.
I will watch the clips of it.
I'm not gonna watch it live. I'm not gonna like stop what I'm doing. As much as I love Pokemon,
if someone like tweets out like, "Whoa, did you see this? It happened at this." But if someone's like, "It was great," I was like, I probably won't. But if there's something like, "Look what happened," I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna watch that." There's like some hot goss. I'm all about it.
Yeah.
God, Nintendo though. I wonder what kind of hot goss. And I bet you there's gonna be one more musician with it, because you can't.
Who are you gonna predict? Who's he gonna be? A country artist? You gotta balance it.
Yes.
If they got like Casey Musgraves, I'd check it out.
Needs to be. I think it needs to be. Was it Hatsune Miku?
Oh, the 3D.
You gotta have. There needs to be a Japanese artist. Yeah, she's the CGI, or I forget what it's called.
Kanaboon, dude. Kanaboon. We get them. That would be the Japanese band that I put out there. They make the best anime intro song ever.
Or what's that baby metal band?
Yeah, Jesse's one of them. Yes. Yeah, I like that Pokemon's getting its well-deserved love, but I don't. I might hope this is the end of video game concerts. I'd be cool with that trend going away.
Well, if Nintendo's finally doing it, maybe this is the end of it.
So sad, so true. In other news, currently there is a college class being taught through Red Dead Redemption is being used to teach an American history class. I read this was on GameSpot, and it was the first of its kind at the University of Tennessee, and it's called History 383. So it's a 300 class. If you remember, 300 classes are your junior year. You don't just get to do this. But it uses both the Red Dead Redemption and sequel to explore 1899 to 1911 American history.
I wonder what your prereqs for this class are. Like half to Xbox 101 or something, and
no, I'm trying to think. If it's American history, well, who's studying? I guess you're just studying American history, right? What video game would be coming? But there's no Civil War games.
So,
yet.
Assassin's Creed.
Oh, there you go. That's right. There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
I forgot. That's right there.
Like, did you take Black Sails 101? Right. You had to finish that show.
Totally.
It's like cross media. So, like, did you watch these shows? Like, 101 is like TV shows and movies.
Yes. Did you watch Liberty Kids at school as a child? There you go. You got to learn the Revolutionary War. God.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's not like American history in media class or something like that. You know, like it's not like that. But they're actually just teaching history. Like, I know I haven't played Redemption, but from what I understand, like they really went all in on like accuracy, like historical kind of accuracy and kind of realism.
Are you talking about 2?
Oh, I'm talking about 2, I guess. Is one Redemption?
Yeah, we played 1 together.
Yeah, I definitely played 1. Yeah. So they're using 1. They're not even using 2.
They're using both.
Using 1 and 2.
1 and 2.
Now, here's the thing. That's why I have credits at that school.
At University of Tennessee?
Because I have played 1 and 2.
I
played 1 and 2. So I'm just going to award myself credits.
Yeah.
Yes. So now you can root for the Volunteers every Saturday when they play college football. That's a nice hint. Yeah. Brilliant. Well, what games do you think would be great for history? I have one locked and loaded that I know helped me as a child. Mario's Missing.
Oh my God!
Yes.
The fact that you're okay, so I literally just talked about it because that was the biggest letdown for a video game.
It's such a bad video game. It's not a good video game by any means.
You think you're getting a video, like you think your parents just bought you a video game. You're so stoked. You're gonna jump on some Goombas to find out there's only one in the entire game, and you spend all of it just learning about the different places in the world.
You learn about different time
it's periods. Like Carmen
San Diego.
Carmen
San Diego
it's not even as fun as Carmen San Diego.
No.
You like catch her, but you just wander. It was the worst. I hate that game so much.
But I did learn a lot of history.
What generation or when was
Super
that from?
Nintendo. Yeah, it was a Super Nintendo game. I remember playing when I was like 8.
Oh no, it was an NES game that also then got ported into Super Nintendo.
Oh, did
it?
For
some god awful reason.
I never played. That's awesome.
Like, we need this.
No, I played the SNES version. I remember learning a lot about the Renaissance and a couple other time periods from it. And no, I don't know what other video games though would help me with
Assassin's
school.
Creed in the later games are pretty decent.
Yeah. I mean,
they focus a lot on it.
Assassin's Creed is kind of cool because it feels like the historical period you're going to. So, I mean, I could see it just like as a short introduction. There's no way he's going to make him play all of those games, though. Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2 are long.
What if that's like your final? You have to turn a screenshot of your like completed game. Like, all right. And if you get 100% completion, you get like the highest marks of honor.
I know it's not historically accurate, but I wish it was. Uncharted. I could play an Uncharted game all the way through because I need to get back to it, and like that is. But there's no way that Uncharted is historically accurate. There's no way.
First, they have to play Warcraft 2 to really start at the beginning.
Oh, there you go. Yes, so that's very. No, I think one game, and I joke about this, but at the halftime, not joking. I think a high school requirement to graduate, if I were to say a game, would be Portal 2.
Oh, for the history.
No, just for common sense. just to see, like, can you solve this? Like, you're ready to move on in the
just
world.
So everybody knows that the cake is a lie.
That moves us to our final news story of the segment, and it's a tabletop story. This came out a couple weeks ago. Avatar is to get its own tabletop role-playing game. Avatar: The Last Airbender.
I was going to say, to clarify, it's Last Airbender, not Avatar.
Thank goodness.
Yes, not James Cameron Avatar. Not yet.
I bet you're excited for this because you love bending.
Avatar. I love Avatar, and it's with the Korra world too. I want Korra's dog. I've already got a character in mind. Like I'm set. I feel like some mediums, like there's a Marvel tabletop RPG game too, right? And I don't know if that sells big. Sure. Devin, I wanted to go to you on this one. When big like IPs become a tabletop game, what do you see? Is it really like a quick hit and it doesn't last, or do they get really loyal fans to it?
So the big thing is there's ports for almost any property that exist. So there was like a 5e port to Avatar that existed like on drive-thru or DM's Guild or something like that. That like, how could I make a bender in D&D? So people want to play these properties. The big thing is you should look at this as a form of fan fiction. Because think about if you were to play a Firefly tabletop RPG, you're like, I could finally explore more of this world that they've released in comics and things like that.
Firefly would be great.
You get to create the stories that you can't get enough of. And that's one of the reasons why licensees like are so successful. Tabletop games are now like becoming way more successful because they're not just afterthoughts. I would say something like the Wendy's RPG was an afterthought because it's just a 5e supplement. They were just doing
Wendy's like the burger. Yeah, Wendy's?
when they did their big thing. Yeah, so
I didn't know that.
I didn't know they did one.
But then you have things like. We have any fans of Dragon Prince?
I've heard of it.
My son and I just started watching that.
It's a Netflix show.
Oh, actually, yeah, I watched the first season.
They have their role-playing game Zandia, which is just taking off. It's supposed to be phenomenal. The rule set's great, and that's the big thing is like all these properties, they want their own physics engine that kind of explain how gameplay works in their world. So like in our world, there is no physics engine for a ninja avoiding a machine gun blast, right?
Yeah,
like that just doesn't happen. But when you watch these shows, like, well, he definitely did it. So you create a physics engine. That's what the gameplay is about. It's like, how can you create these heroes come through and play out like fan fiction? I remember hearing about Avatar, not the Na'vi, but let's see, who's making this game? Who's putting it out? Oh, Magpie Games?
Oh, yeah, Magpie. So Magpie, what other games do they make?
Yeah, okay. You got a banger on your hands then. Magpie is like primo stuff. Like, they put out amazing games. I have no second thoughts that this is not going to be like an amazing game. Because they're known for putting out good stuff. They do Mass Next Generation. They did Root. They did Urban Shadows. They did Zombie World. They also did Passions de la Passions, which is like a role-playing game where you play in a telenova.
I thought it was based on the old.
Seduce Everyone. That is the name of the game.
Was it Passions? Passions was a soap opera that was on during the day.
Yes.
Yeah, so they've done. So I have a lot of faith in that game.
Yeah, I think Avatar 2, like, I liked it back in 2005. It was a great show. And then I think COVID, when it went to Netflix, the timing of it got people's eyes back on it because everyone's looking for diversity in television, and that was a very diverse show in 2005. It was very ahead of its time and progressive in its thoughts. And I think there's a lot of world building. Like, the world's there, right? Everyone knows the map. Everyone knows. I think you're right. The fan fiction people are going to come out of the woodwork and make some really cool campaigns, and I would love to play that. I'm definitely. But, I go back to, I sent this thing to Shelby and Sean a long time ago. There's a graphic on the internet going about by your hand shape of what type of bender you are. Do you guys remember me saying that picture?
Oh, yeah. Like, based on what your hand looks like.
What kind of bender am I?
Well, this is the thing. No, so the picture you can't really tell, right? And then there's other videos of people taking the picture.
There's two that look really similar.
And superimposing it to be the same size as their hand, or making their hand the same size of it and layering it on there.
Let's just say it wasn't a very robust.
Is this like a Snapchat filter?
Yeah, it should be.
Here's the thing: I never watched Avatar until it came to Netflix.
Yeah,
and I watched it last year, which feels like yesterday, and also like 5 years ago. And I loved it.
The longest year ever.
Everyone tell me what kind of Avatar bender you are.
Right. I think I would be Earth just because I don't, but I have long fingers. If I look at the thing here.
You're definitely an Earth bender.
You would be Earth for sure.
Oh yeah, I'm a fire.
Nimble.
I'm fire.
I think I would be air or water.
Sean, you got those skinny little fingers. You're definitely water. You got them little claws. I see them.
Air people are tiny too.
Air's got
everything's long.
Thick hands, right? You see, that's the thing. And so like you got to, and it's your left hand. If you look at this picture, which is going to be great for a podcast.
I would just be the Avatar. I would do them all.
I don't want to choose. I want to be the one. I want to be the chosen one. I get all of them.
Right.
I want to be a bloodbender.
Yeah, someone's going to want to be it. And that leads us to our last segment, Dungeon Diving.
We're going dungeon diving.
We are fairly new in the Dungeons and Dragons world. I fell in love with it in this last year. Sean's been loving it for the last few years, and we have some friends that have been playing for years that have been trying to get us to play. So we are going to record some sessions and do like a little audio play of our games that we started. We made our characters. This is Shelby's first foray into D&D, and he was really worried about it. And then him and I worked last week on his character, and he's like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna love it!" Like he sees the wealth.
Well, there's just so much. It's intimidating because there's so many different pieces that are coming together.
But here's the thing: once you start playing, it all clicks. It all clicks.
You were a theater kid. I always go back to that, and I think that and you do improv. I know you've done improv stuff for work, so I think that will just innately go into your skill set. What do you tell people that are nervous when they first play? Like, how do you relax a group, Devin?
I tell them you don't need to know any of the rules. Don't worry about the rules. I know all the rules. You're just here to have fun. I think when I teach people how to play, because I've taught probably over 1,000 people how to play the game. I always say, like, don't look at your character sheet and get overwhelmed with everything that's on there. I always start with a pre-gen because I feel like it's when you make a character, that's so overwhelming. Like if you make a character after you understand how to play, you're like, oh, okay, this is so much fun. But beforehand, you're like, I don't know what any of this means. So I always say, like, don't worry about making a character. Here's a pre-gen, and don't look at it. Oh yeah. Until we talk about it. I'm like, okay. I was like, so you see a wall. What do you want to do? And they go to look at the character. She's like, no, don't look at. What do you want to do with this wall? Like, can I climb it? Yes, you can. All right, now I want you to find a skill called athletics on your sheet. Okay, what does it say? +2. Okay, now roll that d20. It's and I've usually separate dice or digital. You're gonna roll that. You're gonna add 2. It's like, okay. And it's like 18. Like, cool. You just get up there, just climb like a freaking, like you're doing a D7 at a rock climbing gym. And the idea is, like, you don't let people focus on the rules as much as you just, like, ask them what they want to do and then try to equate their actions to what's on their character sheet so they kind of learn through play.
I have a hard time. As a DM, there's everyone, every player is different. And you get the ones that are like, trying to explain in mechanics what they want to do versus just telling. I'm like, just like, even with Casey, sometimes I'm like, just tell me, what do you want to do, and I'll tell you if you can do it.
And now I try to do all of the I'm like, I want to do this, and this, and Sean will go, okay, this could end very poorly. It's just and
if you could, for me, it's like, if it makes sense, and it's like it makes sense in this world that you could do that, then go for it. Usually. There's sometimes where, like, people will try and do stuff that I'm like, that makes no, like, you can do one of those things or whatever. You can't do, like, all of them.
I'm always trying to game the system, too, and be like, is there a way we could take this bag of holding and put it over his head and decapitate him and then he's dead? Like, can we do
it? You can describe how it works, or I'm like, okay.
Can I break the game and kill this level 12 boss without having actually to fight?
What were you were trying to make a character that could, you want to make a samurai character that could one-shot people or something like that.
Yeah. I want like, if he rolled a perfect 20. Yeah, give me something like just certain base level. I was just throwing out the idea. So with people and them not listening to the rules and just enjoying you because you're the rule, how often as a DM do you bend the rules to create enjoyment for people too? Every time?
Every time.
To, right?
Like, the rules are definitely like, what is it? Pirates of the Caribbean? It's more of a guideline.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly how I treat it. I like to bring mechanics and rules from other systems too as well. So I like to use things like, in Blaze in the Dark, they have like this flashback ability where you can say like, oh, okay, well, they're asking you for your passes, and you're like, oh, and then like, I'd like to use a flashback to say like, remember when we made them, and have like a cut scene, kind of like when you watch like Ocean's 11, you see like what they did before.
Oh yeah,
things like that. I like to integrate like a lot of different rules from other systems to my D&D games when it calls for it. Like, oh, we're doing a naval battle now. Like every player has a ship. You control the ship. We have a whole set of rules just for the ships now, rather than like your regular characters, to like change it up. But for the most part, like I'll bend the rules based off of what I think would be the most entertaining for me and my players.
With that too, when you give the prefab characters, when you play with more developed groups and they make a character, how important to you is knowing that character's background?
I think it's really important. Right. If we're just playing a one shot, usually people won't have a backstory. But if we're playing, like, I there's this thing called daggers or knives. And it's when someone gives you a backstory. It's like, well, I haven't seen my sister in like 10 years. Oh, cool. Your sister reaches out to you saying that she needs your help. And like, oh, well, I have this weird relationship with my sister. I guess I'll go see what's happening. And then, like, you find out that they're apologizing for you, but they've been cursed by a witch. And like, they just need your help to get out of it. Mm-hmm. Like, using anything that I've been given, I'm going to take and twist and use to push forward the story at hand. So if like I have no parents, I'm an orphan, right? And I have no friends. I'm like, that's a boring backstory, bud.
Right.
You need to give me someone.
You mean every rogue backstory ever, right?
Yeah. It's like, well, I do have a mentor. Right. Like I do have a mentor. I'm like, cool. Like your mentor is coming to kill you. I'm like, what? It's like, yeah, they just want to get you out of the picture. Like anything you could use against your players, and not use against in like a hostile way, but like you have a story to tell and you need a way to get buy-in or investment from a character that is affected by
Turns out your mentor's been kidnapped by a dragon of some kind. Like you need to go rescue them because they raised
that means that their house is now unguarded and the dagger that you've always wanted from them is there. Because I also think like that character who is like, I have no allegiances. Like, cool. Well, now that person you have no allegiance to, that you couldn't take on, has that dagger. Guess what? They got free from that dragon, and they know their dagger's gone, and they know you did it. Yeah. And so now, like,
that I will say that's the best as a DM is when players like we have a player in Casey and I's campaign where he is like a burglar. He's a tabaxi. He's a cat man. Like his backstory. He doesn't kill to steal, but he'll steal anything.
Yeah.
So it's fun, like being like, oh, you know that pendant you stole? That was like the sister of the king's, and he knows you have it. He's sending everyone he has after you.
Yeah.
And he just thought it was a pendant on someone's nightstand or whatever that he stole.
But then that's great because you say like the king catches you like, I'm very impressed with your thieves skills.
Yeah.
I will forgive you this trespass if you steal something for me.
Yeah.
There's this thing called Secrets and Clues, and it's by Sly Flourish. It's part of like the Lazy GM's Guide to Game Prep. And one of the things is don't decide where your secrets and clues are hidden. So if there's like, there's a letter in the desk. If they find the letter, then they learn about like, the crazed ant. Instead, you just say like, there's a letter somewhere in the adventure.
So this mechanic happens. Got it.
Yeah, and so they're like, well, if they never even pay attention to the desk, but they're like, I know there's got to be a safe behind one of these paintings. You're like, yep, there's a safe behind what you found it.
Yeah.
And the letter's in it because you're now rewarding what they thought where it would be. And you want to give them this plot device, and they still earned it by looking for it in a unique way. But instead of like being rigid with where these things lay.
I feel like another worst thing is like a DM is like when you say something and give them a clue you never intended for it to be a clue or anything important. Like in one of my campaigns, they were doing like this haunted mansion thing. And I, just for like flavor, just for a little spookiness, I was like, oh, that animal or that like bust of that animal, like you swear you saw it move or something like that. Like I made that kind of rookie DM mistake. And next thing you know, they're smashing every single thing in that room. And they're like, but what is it? What did we stop? Did anything happen? I was like, no, there was, I should have. Now I know I should have given them or like used that for something else. But
at the time, something inside of it or like the spirit of the animal has been released. Thank you.
For etiquette, what are some do's and don'ts for first-time players that you recommend?
The biggest don't is don't infringe on other people's fun. It's a group game. It's not your fun only. If you are an extroverted person and you feel that you're pretty good at social cues, find ways to bring up your players and make them part of it. It's really easy for one person to just feel like, well, no one else is saying anything, so I'll take the stage, rather than like, listen, I'm Grunk. I'm a barbarian. I defer to the wizard's knowledge. Because then you're like pulling that player in as your own character. You're creating a space for other people, and if people are having trouble fill it, letting your character kind of provide an arm, asking them to fill it, is sometimes really nice for people that are maybe more shy or more introverted. And then I think another do is think of some good safety tools. And it's weird to think like we're playing a game. What do you mean safety tools? But the idea is like there are some things like that you just want to express to your players ahead of time so everyone feels really comfortable playing. And then when that happens, everyone's like, there's no anxiety. Like if I maybe like, say things, I had problems with fire. Like maybe like when I was a kid, like my house burnt down and like it's a huge thing. That's not something everyone really knows about. And so like when you kind of like when your GM's like, hey, here's some things that might involve in our game, or here's like, let me know what your triggers are. And you avoid that, then you avoid that like shutdown moment where you're like, this is really uncomfortable. And I don't want to say anything. I don't want to stop the game. I don't want people to like be, and other people also, you don't want to do that to someone. You just don't know that you shouldn't. And so things like that, like, especially when you're playing with people that you haven't played with before, it's good to like think about like, if this game was a movie, like what would it be rated? And like what things like might make people uncomfortable, like phobias, like, like if someone's really, really afraid of like snakes, they're going to be just as afraid of snakes in the game, and maybe in a way that takes them out of the game, takes them out of the immersion.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
We had a snake in our campaign, and I was like, this is not.
Yeah, you guys made a suit out of it.
That is true. We tried to weekend and
like kids in a trench coat.
yeah,
like
we tried to do the weekend at Bernie's. Like, hey, like we tried to infiltrate with them.
Needless to say, they weren't afraid of snakes.
Yes, we were
But
not.
someone might be, whether you know it or
But
not.
My whole MO is to not battle at all. I want to see if I can just do the other mechanics to avoid the fight.
Oh, yeah.
And then see. Yeah.
As a GM, you should always roll with how your players are played. You don't want to force them into, like, if they don't want to fight, then, like, find ways to make it so they don't have to fight. And if they're being clever about it, if they're just like, I want to roll a charisma check so I don't have to fight this guy, like, no. But
No.
he will.
You got to describe how you would.
I let my players once do participate in a flighting. Do you know what a flighting is?
Sounds familiar.
It's what happened during like Shakespearean times, where you would trade barbs at each other until one person was flustered enough they couldn't respond. It's essentially a
so
rap battle.
Shelby should know. That was in Assassin's Creed.
Yes.
That was in Valhalla.
That was in Valhalla,
So you just
yeah.
trade insults back and forth, and my players loved it. But I like wrote down like 30 of them just so I had them ready about like their character. So this guy was just like unloaded on them, and then they're like, you know what? We're gonna come back. You've hurt our feelings. We don't like this guy. This is like in game, and they're like, guy sucks.
Yeah.
Which is great because it made it so much better when they came back prepared and they like spent time writing insults.
For inspiration, what are some house rules or some tips you could add to our campaign that are really fun, like house rules that you love?
Okay. One of my favorite house rules is destroy shield. If you would have failed an AoE attack that is dex or strength based, you can instead pass it, but your shield is destroyed. So imagine it's like a fireball so big, but you just like press your shield into it, just literally just melts away from the fireball. Your shield's destroyed. You save from it because you essentially get rid of your armor class bonus from that shield. I think that's really fun.
Yeah, because you're kind of giving them choice to sacrifice, something to save themselves.
It's funny. I actually have a doc open on my desktop that I'm loading right now. That is all of my optional rules.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I have one for roll for hotness.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Like, so if people want, if like they meet an NPC or whatever, like how hot is she? I'm like, roll for it. You see how hot you think she is.
the potions. Drinking one is a bonus action. Doesn't make sense that it's an action.
Yeah, I've heard that one. Okay.
Yeah, that one's pretty popular. Big fan of inspiration dice, just giving it out. I give out like either like bardic inspiration dice or a D20. So like if you do something that's cool, but like I'm not gonna give you a D20 for that, I'll give you a D4.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. PvP is only if both players consent to it.
Oh.
So if you're like, hey, like, do you want PvP in this game? Do you want to be able to just like attack someone when they're not in the mood for it? You can, but if all players have to agree that like PvP is okay. The only other PvP that's okay is like if it's narrative. It's like, oh, this person's like under like the spell of like a ghost or something like that. But sometimes like people are like, I don't want a teammate to steal my gold while I'm sleeping.
Yeah, that's
That
always
like ruins fun for me.
Yeah, I'm like, you don't want to ruin fun for the other person, even if it's fun for you.
Counterspelling and counterspell creates a wild magic surge. I don't know if you're at the high enough level for counterspell, but like the counterspelling becomes a big thing.
Right,
after a
because
while.
it's like, why counterspell? Your counterspell. It's like the.
I'm surprised they
Princess
allow
Bride.
that.
Yeah, counterspell. Your counterspell, and then minions. So minions are essentially like if you have a big boss, it has its minions, and they all have 1 hit point. So you could slay them like a boss. Like that gives you your Lord of the Rings, like just like taking down all these orcs. What I do is like when you attack, whatever damage you do, you end up taking out that many minions. So like between 1 and 5 hit points. So you do 10 damage, you take out 2. But they only get to attack you if you fail your attack against them. So they never take a turn.
I learned about that from Matt Colville. I don't know if you know of Matt Colville or watched his YouTube videos. When I first started getting into DMing, I watched a bunch of his stuff, and he talked about that. Like one of his favorite features from 4th edition was minions. So I've used it a few times, especially with like skeletons or like lich kind of ones, where like you want to overwhelm people with a lot of numbers, but in D&D, like a lot of numbers can like murder your party. And so having those 1 hit point kind of guys that, don't really have a turn is great because people can feel like gods, but you also feel like there's a lot of stuff going on at that time.
And the fact that you just take damage, they don't get an attack against you. If you fail your attack, they do 2 points of damage, 3 points of damage. Like that way, that anytime you fail an attack, they just do damage. You're like, that really it just adds a little salt to the wound of failing the attack.
This is just crazy because I feel like every time we have a conversation regarding D&D, there's like one more layer that I'm learning, like gets a little deeper. And I think it's just really neat to see how fleshed out it is and the different systems that stack upon each other to kind of make it a complicated yet fun experience. So I'm excited to get into it. It's intimidating, but at the same time, like if we're able to just go and have a great time and talk shop, I think it'll be well worth it.
Do you want to tell Devin your first character ever that you made?
Trench Tides.
Oh, okay. I like that.
Exactly. He is a water mage.
Water mage? Okay.
I don't know.
And what is he?
A water genie. A water genie.
He's looking it up right now. No. He's looking it up right
Sure.
now.
No, isn't he a Triton?
Guys, I didn't come with my character sheet. Guys.
You went with a Triton.
You went with the Triton,
like the fish people
the mermaid.
instead.
Yeah, but I want to know, like, why are they adventuring?
So our DM has yet to tell us that. We have our first game next month. He wanted us to get that together, and right now I said to him, why are we adventuring? He goes, for the love of exploration. Maybe. He doesn't know. He wanted to kind of pull there.
He doesn't know yet.
Sean, your character is a what?
I'm a turtle warlock, but my kind of god, or like the thing that I praise is, so his backstory, which he doesn't know, is that he was one of the Ninja Turtles, but he was lost with his own like jar of ooze. So his kind of god is this jar of ooze that he calls, what is it called, like T-Griff or whatever it said on the
cans in the second movie.
On the can, so that's what he calls it, and like he listens to it and things, and like that's kind of like his whatever, and so that's what I'm going with for his. It's like, but he does, and his name is Hieronymus for Hieronymus Bosch, which if anyone knows art, he is a real crazy Dutch artist from like the 1500s.
I love that what you did with making their name an artist too. I like that a lot.
Yeah, because I was like, I looked up like all these old kind of like Italian, Renaissance painter names stuff. I couldn't find anyone. Then I was like, it recommended like Hieronymus Bosch, and I was like, I know Hieronymus Bosch. He's from the 1400s. He's Dutch because he got lost. He kind of named himself, or the ooze named him. Like told him what his name is.
Here's my question: What's their favorite drink, Sean? What's their favorite beverage?
I think it's just like a little bit of water, but with like a drop of ooze in it. He drinks the ooze, gets his power.
So that's almost like a little bit of like the body of their god.
Oh yeah.
It's like a little bit of like their communion.
Yeah, it actually comes in like Crystal Light packets, and then you gotta
right. It's ooze flavor. It's not even the actual ooze.
So now, Shelby, though, you're Trent Tides. What is Trent Tides' profession?
He is a bard. What, an entertainer type?
Weren't you a druid though?
Yeah, but a bard and entertainer, right?
He's a druid.
So
he's a druid.
Are they like spoken word, a lutist, a flutist, a
professional flighter, based on this conversation, where he can just come in and wreck people.
Here's something funny you can do with that. I would write down like witty retorts in history and just have a list down, and just every now and again when the conversation's going, just like, which one is applicable here? Because then you really get to sell yourself of like wind always passes twice, especially after cheese. Am I right? It's an old Shakespearean fart joke. Casey, what about you?
I am going to be a Tabaxi monk. So I have a Maine Coon cat.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm skinning him to be a fat, like, think Kung Fu Panda body.
In real life.
In a thing. I made his profession, though, as a chef bouncer. So he learned to fight through bouncing. And then there's a bunch of references to my favorite film as a child and as an adult, Drunken Master.
Yeah.
His dad is Fei Hong, who is Jackie Chan's character, and it's based off a real person who was a physician. And so his dad made him be a chef because I got a 9 in intellect when we rolled, so I'm not smart, but I do like to help people. Yeah. And he's a big...
What's his favorite food?
His favorite food is anything that pleases someone. He doesn't like to waste food. Yeah. But he likes the drink, too. But his favorite food, it would be fish, of course, like any cat.
Fish. Of course, yeah. Right? Yeah. I don't know where I heard this, but I heard somewhere that, like, the lore of Tabaxi is they hate being compared to house cats.
Right.
But I've never played a game where the comparison to house cats wasn't relevant throughout the entire game.
Well, there's going to be like a shiny light that probably distracts them, right? There has to be some of those. Like,
someone's like, what cantrip is laser point?
What are the tropes? What are the tropes?
I think the last thing I want to recommend to y'all is check out Justice Armand. Justice Armand has this great series of character warm-ups. And these are questions you ask at the beginning of every game that kind of warm you up to like your character and help kind of build them out. I like doing the same thing where I ask my players like, what's a fun fact about your character? But just as I'm on, like he'll be like, okay, like, hey, you know, how would your character react if they found out your parents have passed? And there are all these questions you just kind of ask before you play, and they kind of like you express them, and then the rest of your players like, oh, I kind of get a better idea of how this person wants to exist inside the world and how they react to things. And then I have a better idea of how my character would react to things and exist in this world.
Well, okay, we'll add that because I wanted to do a piece before we start playing, like where we introduce ourselves each when we do these episodes. Give me a fact about your character, or like when Chappie, who is our DM, will ask us. So that's a good little exercise. I listened to another podcast called Dungeons and Daddies, and they'll do like dad facts, and like I was like, oh, I want to do something like that where it builds your character.
Oh yeah, that's cool. That's a really good idea.
I want to thank you. So that's it for us.
Thanks for having me.
Where can our listeners find more of you?
So you can find more of me. You can find me on Twitters. Just Total Party Chill without the vowels because it's too long to fit on Twitter. You guys can find the Total Party Chills podcast, which is Strained in Strahd. It's essentially my players sucked into the Curse of Strahd as themselves, but in D&D bodies. It's a lot of fun. I always wanted to do like a Galaxy Quest kind of game, you know? So that's what this is, and it's a terrible podcast. Don't listen to it,
or do.
And then you, of course, you can find my company, which is startplaying.games, just online. Just startplaying.games. That's the URL. And find a D&D game tonight. You know, just start playing games. If you've been listening about it, you're just like, oh my gosh, I want to play D&D. There's so many GMs that are just like, listen, if you're new, don't worry about it. You're gonna have a great time.
Yes,
that's our goal.
And all of this information will be linked in this description below. So if you want to just go ahead and click it and go right to Devin's work.
Yeah, definitely. If you want more of us, you can check out that description for all of our social channels. Our website is underpoweredmedia.com. We're also chatting in Discord. Check us out. And please leave us a review. 5 stars, please. That's a wrap for this week. We're out.
Play your games.
All right.